Hi, welcome to the Politics Chicks podcast. I'm Monica Healy,
And I'm Christy Branham.
and today we are joined by Jackie Mosqueda-Jones. Thank you, Jackie, for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Jackie and I knew each other from the Osseo district, where she served on the Osseo School Board, and she is still currently a teacher in Columbia Heights. And for our listeners, if you are not already aware, Columbia Heights is a school district just north of Minneapolis, and it has been hit very hard by ICE. So we're very looking forward to hearing your perspective on what you have seen. And maybe you just want to jump in and tell us a little bit about yourself and about what you do.
Sure. As Monica said, I was a school board member in the Osseo School District for 6 years. When I retired from that, I was the chair of the district. And I thought we went through the tough stuff with COVID and George Floyd, but this is a whole nother level. I teach pre-K in one of the buildings in Columbia Heights. We only have 3 elementary schools. And so the pre-K teachers are really tight with each other. And it's been a nightmare for all of us. My school is pre-K to grade 5, as all our elementaries are. And then we have one middle school, one high school, and a family center.
And so you have preschool. Are they 3, 4, and 5 then?
It's the voluntary pre-K program, so it's through the state. It's 4-year-olds.
So you have the 4-year-olds. And how many
We have
kids
the
do you
year
have in your
before kindergarten.
class? Okay.
Um, our district offers full day and half day. Our full day programs are full with 20 kids and 2 adults. Our half day program are not as full, so I currently only have 15 and 11 morning and afternoon classes, and many of our classes are like that.
And are most of your students coming to school? Have you had students that have opted out, have gone to online?
Fortunately, I don't even believe I just said fortunately, but fortunately in my school, we have 3 students not attending in our full day pre-K program and 3 students in our half day program not attending.
Do you want to talk
Um,
about the demographic of your school so that people kind of have an understanding of the background of the students?
oh, absolutely. We are now about 40% Latina. Many of them are Ecuadorian refugees. About 25% African American, Black, African immigrants. And then the rest of the district is what we call white and other. So um, it's a majority kids of color. I often only have 1 or 2 kids that would be identified as white in my classroom.
So we're talking about a very, very diverse mix of students in the district overall, and it sounds like particularly in your classroom. And for our listeners, this is the district where little Liam Ramos was from, and he was literally standing there with teachers outside around him. And I'm guessing you know that teacher.
Yeah, I do, Ella.
And do you want to say anything about that situation?
Um, that was that it continues to be really a tough situation for all of us in the whole district and now, around the world. That night, as soon as I heard, I texted Ella and I said, "What in the world is going on here?" And um, all the pre-K teachers got on a text chain and we just provided support for each other and what are we going to do and how are we going to, make sure this doesn't happen again. We I decided to do an online seesaw class for all the kids in the district, which we did not have online option for pre-K. So all the kids in the district in pre-K are allowed to, because this kid came to school because parents were afraid they would get in trouble and dropped from the class because after 15 days, you drop. And they followed him from his school to his driveway. And I know the people who saw all this, um, so mad about the other narratives. They followed him to his driveway. The car's still running. They pulled dad out of the car to arrest him. These are people with legal asylee papers. The superintendent saw it, the chair board saw it, and then they took little Liam to the back door and made him pound on the door asking for his mom to come out so that they could get her. And mom had to look at this baby and go, do I go out so I can be with my husband and my child? Or do I stay to protect my unborn baby and my middle school student and make sure that there are lawyers and whoever else needs to be there? I can't imagine that type. It's 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 just it's inhumane. It's just so inhumane. And the picture of little Liam against that truck just, I mean, it just says it all. And it's just so pre-K, that little hat, the Spider-Man backpack. We see that in the hall, those kinds of things in the hall all the time. Um, and then, yeah, and then they did the same thing, similar thing to one of my students, but my student and her mom were able to get into their building before they could um, literally abduct them. So and that child has not been in school since that because of this. And now she's doing online school with me that I'm volunteering to do. Um, it's just, it's maddening.
Before we started recording, we asked you a little bit about, you call them DOPA forms, and can you speak to that?
Yeah, I wish I could remember the exact words for the acronym, but it essentially, it gives power, like power of parental rights to any other person should something happen to the parents. Um, and in this case would be being picked up by ICE or detained or kidnapped. So in our school, as soon as this started happening, even last year when it started happening, we started sending DOPA forms home with families and saying, please, do these. We want a copy of it at school so we can, help out if we need to. Our Spanish liaisons, our social workers, all we helped them find notaries so that it could be notarized. So that's, and now our people that are patrolling are carrying these forms around so that if a family doesn't have one, they can fill it on spot. But ICE agents aren't allowing us to do that.
Quick Google, and DOPA stands for Delegation of Parental Authority. And I think
Yep.
it speaks to the kind of state that Minnesota is, that we have that available, and that we are the state that looks out for each other, which we have all seen in this last month.
Yeah, our social worker is DOPA is the designated person for a few families, and she is also licensed to be foster care. So she has taken a few kids in here and there for differing reasons, but it's pretty
We
sad when
and
you
we've
have to
seen
do that.
teachers come out, or we've seen coverage of teachers being the person who is the designated parental authority for parents are going to their kids' teachers because the children trust their teacher and are
The
designating
families,
that authority. Yeah.
our families trust us with everything, and we have the best families. I've taught in many different school districts, many different ages. I've been teaching for well over 30 years. by far, these families are, um, they look out for each other. They look out for teachers. If I ask for any kind of donations, they don't have enough money, but they still want to help a family that has even less than they do. It's, and every single teacher in that district in a heartbeat would take a kid home. In a heartbeat. Where there are
Teachers are
babies.
going to save this country. I truly believe that.
And I have been saying for a long time, and you mentioned living through COVID and the education system. The teachers are the band-aids on society's bullet wounds, and we saw it during COVID, and we're seeing it now where we aren't just teachers and educators. We are social workers, and we are healthcare workers, and we are food services, and we are, you know, psychologists and mental health and community services. And it's a lot for educators to bear. And as somebody that retired a little less than 2 years ago, thank you for continuing those services.
Yeah, it's in our blood. We're also fortunate to have an amazing principal that has told us that it's important for us to take care of each other, to take care of ourselves. And instead of having a staff meeting on equity, we're filling bags of food and toiletries. And it's and they're there. Even staff that aren't supposed to be at that staff meeting are there filling these bags.
And you
Um,
mentioned that you personally went out and bought medicine and delivered medicine to families because they can't go out and buy things like Tylenol for themselves.
yeah, we also have several students that are getting rides to school by community members or other parents in the school. And one of our kids um, said she didn't have any medicine at home and she wasn't feeling well. And so I messaged mom and I said, 'Cause that's one of the things I wasn't thinking about sending home with families was Tylenol. Um, but she said she didn't have any. And so I just last night went out and bought Tylenol and ibuprofen, children's and adult for families. And even our own lunch person, was afraid to go out. And so we bought some for her. And it's just, it's to know that they can't even go out to get Tylenol, or the kid's favorite snack. I am buying cheddar sour cream ruffles today for one of my kiddos because that's his favorite snack. And I would never allow that in my classroom. But that kid is getting those potato chips.
And
Absolutely.
I think it's important to just circle back on this. You are volunteering to do online learning for pre-K. So do you want to talk a little bit about how that came about and what you're doing for your students, your little students?
So I was teaching pre-K during COVID, so I have, experience teaching things online. Um, our students don't have access necessarily to devices, but every family has a phone. Um, and so when we were talking about after Liam was um, kidnapped, and we were so frustrated because of our kids coming to school because they didn't want to, get in trouble, and talking about how we can do this and how we can work through the district. And I just said, I'm just going to add whoever wants to be in my seesaw class, in my afternoon class, because that's my low class. I'm going to assign assignments. And our principal said, we'll mark them here if they do it. Um, and just to hear their little voices answering the questions on these, they're matching letters and they're practicing writing things because Seesaw has a great, archive of all sorts of interactive things you can do on your phone. I wish we could do video things, but I'm hoping to record videos and post them for the families. But that, also takes more time. So all of my prep I'm spending going through their assignments and talking to families to see what else they might need. And then I do my regular prep work on the weekends.
The education system survives on the unpaid overtime of all of our educators, 100%.
Absolutely. And then there are 2 days a week that we go out. My pre-K teacher colleague and I go out and deliver items to our pre-K families.
Wow. You mentioned your principal. Do you want to share her name for our listeners? Because it sounds like she's been a good leader in these troubling times.
Yeah, he's one of the rare white
Sorry.
men. Jeff Sosek, he's one of the most inclusive, caring individuals as a principal that I've ever seen. He's made sure that Black men get into our school. We have one of the highest percentages of Black men teaching in our school, and Black women as well. And his own children are from lots of different areas, including Ethiopia. And ICE showed up at his door over the summer and mistook his 20-something-year-old son for a criminal. And that really, in Anoka, Ramsey, somewhere, not Anoka, but it was Ramsey or Andover, one of those places over there. Um, I just, it's just, there are no words for the things that are happening right now. And he just, as my husband dropped me off yesterday at school because he needed the car, and we saw Jeff loading multiple bins into his vehicle. And my husband's like, what's going on there? I said, he's bringing those home because he's going to spend all weekend vacuum sealing packages of meat so that our kids can have meat at home.
And you mentioned to us that ICE is very active outside of all of the schools in your district, and that because you said they're all on one street, all of the elementary schools.
Yeah, all the schools except our elementary schools. So there's six buildings, 5 of them are on that street, and ours is tucked away behind some other things. So we're fortunate to not be as targeted, but we have had ICE vehicles at the apartments down the road. So we're walking kids and having families drive kids to those apartments and making deliveries. And retired principals are driving, because we can't drive as staff members, it's a legal thing. Retired teachers, retired principals are coming every single day and making multiple trips to do that. They're also stocking our bus stops. All of our restaurants have been targeted. And then we have a fairly big grocery store, Latina grocery store that has been, it's constant. There are patrollers and ICE there every minute of every day.
Well, little Liam wasn't the only student from your district that has had a run-in with ICE. I have in my notes that there are 3 others, a 10-year-old girl, a 4th grader who was detained with her mother on her way to school, a 17-year-old detained on January 20th on their way to school, taken from a vehicle without parents' consent, without parents' present, excuse me, and another 17-year-old detained along with their in inside the apartment. So
yes,
your community has been hit hard.
There's 2 more.
There's
that
2
happened.
more.
Happened on Thursday.
Oh.
They took mom. Mom called the school, said, I need my kids because they took me. And the principal had to drive a 5th grader and a 2nd grader to the Whipple building so that mom could have her kids with her because she had to make the choice of, do I just let my kids, she didn't have anyone else to put her kids with and didn't feel comfortable putting her kids with anyone. So now we have two more kids in that Whipple building with a mother who also have papers. They're refugees, they have papers. The principal brought the papers. They wouldn't look at the papers.
Well, let's be
There
very
are,
clear about what they're doing. They're phishing. Monica made a comment, I believe it was on Threads, I read it, Monica, about them targeting apartment buildings. The reason they're doing that, first of all, Columbia Heights, a lot of the community are not homeowners. They live in apartment buildings, I'm
yep,
assuming.
yep,
And they're targeting buildings because it is densely populated and they are
hmm
literally phishing. They have no designated person that they're looking for. What they're doing is going in for looking up for Black and brown people or people speaking a different language and targeting them because they've got
yeah,
quotas they need to meet.
absolutely. And it's not just the apartment buildings. They're going door to door. They're dragging people out of their houses. They're going door to door knocking to see who answers. And they go into the apartment buildings. One of our staff members couldn't sleep because they were up all night knocking on her and her neighbors' doors.
Right.
They truly are fishing and targeting certain places. And there's so many people, so many ICE agents in our community that you can't go a block without seeing some activity. It's it's horrifying. I don't know how anyone can't see that this is definitely rhyming with some of the worst pieces of our history.
And
Yeah.
in the last podcast, Monica brought up the collective trauma that this is ensuing on these families and these children. Do you want to talk a little bit about the trauma that you're seeing these kids experiencing?
As a pre-K teacher, we were just seeing a sense of normalcy after COVID and the effects of COVID on development and stress and anxiety. And now we've got kids that have to grow up having been through that and now this. And we have kids that can't concentrate in school. They can't regulate themselves. They don't know what to do. They're talking about things as if this is a normal thing because it's just their daily life. It's just, like when you hear kids going, "Hey, did ICE show up in your neighborhood last night?" Yeah, they were there. Like, really, seriously, this should not be discussions that fourth graders should have. It's just, not at all. Um, and teachers driving other teachers to school because they don't feel safe driving to school. It's the amount of things that this community is doing is immeasurable. And you name it, they've thought of it. They're doing people's laundry. Somebody's going and fixing doors for free. It's just the things. It's it's so beautiful to see and so heartbreaking that it has to happen.
Christy, I'm sorry. I'm going to make you edit because I can't stand this sun anymore. When I
I
sat
can see you
down for,
dodging in and out. No, we're totally fine.
hold
We'll
on.
just let her do that.
Hmm.
I'm not going to cut. It's just easier for me to keep this as one piece and then cut back in.
Totally understand.
I got to tell you, I am really struggling not to start tearing up. Actually, when you started talking about Liam and the kids and the trauma, this is really hard to hear.
It is collective trauma, and it's not just the people directly affected. It's I mean, we have people reaching out from other countries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Monica, I was just saying that I'm tearing up. Like, this is really overwhelming.
It's really hard to see what our our community is going through. But as I keep saying, it's also really heartening to see what our community is rising to do. And I'm going to do a little back and forth here because I've been out on patrol in my area and with my kids who live in Minneapolis. And things I have learned while out on patrol are what true monsters these agents are. They are active at school start time and dismissal time. They are active at restaurant closing time, so they can target restaurant workers as they are leaving work. And the looks on kids' faces when the bus drops them off and they sprint to their parents' cars and to their homes is heartbreaking. But what our community is doing with people out on patrol and educators and community members coming together to help their neighbors because they are our friends and neighbors. You know, the food collection and delivery and supplies and patrol and rental help. That's has made me so proud to be a Minnesotan. I'm embarrassed to be an American right now, but I'm proud to be Minnesotan.
That's
Yeah.
exactly the right sentiment, I think.
And Jackie, I think it's really we want to give you a platform. So I would love for you to share how you're doing emotionally right now because we really haven't touched on you and how you're dealing with this and um how you're approaching this day after day of relentless horror that we're all living through. So, can you just tell us a little bit about how you're doing emotionally, how what you're doing to maybe try to do a little bit of self-care, although I think all of us are guilty of not doing the things we should be doing right now to take care of ourselves because we're so caught up in the moment. But I think hearing that will give our listeners a little bit more of an idea of what the true emotional toll on the human beings experiencing this is.
I mean, we're not doing well. I'm not doing well. We're not doing well. Um, I fight back tears all the time. Um, I walk in to my building and we look at each other and just tear up and hug each other because it's the only thing we do. We in our building we've decided never to say how are you anymore because there's just only one answer to that. Just I'm glad you're here. So hello, Miss So and So. I'm glad you're here. That's our new greeting. Because there's just nothing. Um, I I just I don't even know how to explain how overwhelming and intense the feelings of and Monica knows this. Your students are your babies. Their teachers are wired to do everything they can for our babies. And I literally teach babies. They're 4 years old, 4-year olds. Um, and so we have to suck it all up when the kids get there, be there for the kids. Um, and then afterwards, it's like, I don't know if anyone's ever like had to, put on a face and then, I mean, I'm sure everybody has, but when you put on a face and then finally when you can just let it go, it's it's a whole level of what the bleep is going on. A whole level of I have said the F word more in the last 3 weeks than I have in my previous 10 years.
Same, same.
And and like we try not to say it in front of the kids because we can't. I mean, it's just so awful. And we're checking in with each other. We all are making sure our principal is amazing. He's like we have a couple of teachers that signed up for far too many families to deliver to, and he said, you got to get rid of some of those. There's other people that want to step up, and you need to take care of yourself too. Um, so it's a collective. Um, I want to say matriarchal, but it's not matriarchal. It's a collective interdependent culture of the families and teachers in our district. We're not American independence, do it by yourself kind of. We're a collective. Everybody takes care of everyone, and it's the only way that I can make it through. My my assistant is Ecuadorian. She's a dual citizen, but that doesn't seem to matter. So every day, I wonder, is she gonna get to work? Is she gonna get home? Is her high school student gonna get home with her? She waits to pick up her kids so that she can hear there's no ice around before she goes to pick up her kid. So her kid stays after school.
DHS is totally promoting this rugged individualism, this idea that America is built on that individual bricks that build this country. And while that may have been how this country was founded back in the days when we were, during expansionism and when we were forming the 50 states, but in this century, in this decade, in this year, that rugged individualism is completely irrelevant because we've built a society that like you said, is interdependent. And that's what makes society strong in the modern world, not that rugged individualism.
That's why Minnesota works. That's why we are the way we are. I mean, there's very few states in our country right now that take care of their people like Minnesota does. Um, it if we all did that, if the whole country did that, can you imagine?
Right? I keep coming back to our own Minnesota senator, late Senator Paul Wellstone, who always said, we all do better when we all do better. When everyone is fed and housed and clothed and educated and taken care of, we all do better.
We say that at our staff meeting. Our equity, every once a month we have an equity staff meeting, and that's what we say every time. We all do better when we all do better,
Yeah.
and when you know better, you do better.
Yeah. I hope the country is looking at us and saying, okay, we know better. Let's do better. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Minnesota, more than any other state, has proved that you can take care of the people within this is not a fucking pie. Okay. Just because someone gets a little bit of extra help, that does not take resources away from someone who does not need that help. That doesn't take benefits away from someone who does not need that help. And I think we're really showing the country what can happen when you construct a community and thus a society and a state that values every person in that state, gives everyone what they need in order to be successful without shaming them and making them feel like their hardship is their own fault, when a lot of times it is because they cannot find a job making a living wage. And we could go off on so many other tangents. But we've proved to the country, and I think that's why Minnesota is being targeted, because we've proved that it is possible to do that. We've proved that compassion is not a character flaw, and empathy are not character flaws. They're traits that we all need more of, I think.
It's imperative. They're traits that are imperative. That's the only word I can use for it right now. I don't know how we make it without it.
Before we wrap things up, Jackie, do you have any final thoughts?
Oh, wait, Monica, you wanted to go in the local government. You wanted to do the stuff about
About school board?
elections. Yeah. Sorry. I can edit all that out, but do you want to lead into that?
Yeah. So, Jackie, shifting gears a little bit, in addition to serving as a preschool teacher and pretty much a community hero, you've also served on the school board. And we have seen, especially since 2020, the importance of local elections and how things start at the local level. And this past year, the many Moms for Liberty people that tried to take over school boards were resoundingly defeated. And do you want to talk about your experience serving on school boards at all?
I just I'm putting a plug in for everybody that's listening to this. Please get involved in your local politics. Please research who your nonpartisan, and I say that in quotes because there's no such thing as nonpartisan right now. Your nonpartisan electeds and candidates are. Do your research. Um, we have I've seen so many people get elected in, and then later people are like, "Oh, I didn't know they did that." And you have to, and look at who's endorsing them. Um, it's it's imperative that you do that. I hate to use that word so much, but what I've seen with books trying to get banned and trying to make sure that kids don't see themselves in the curriculum or the books or um, the amount of things that I've had said to me when I was on the school board about what education should be like that are, in my personal opinion, heinous and horrific. And I I would be up there and say, if I had this book when I was that age, I would have felt seen. I would have felt heard. And I'm a white woman saying this. And I had some abuse in my life, but imagine our LGBTQI kids and our um, Black kids and our kids of color and any any group that our society decides is not um, deserving of the same rights as everyone else needs to see themselves, and almost more importantly, everyone needs to see everyone's perspective. I wish that I had more growing up as a white person, um, knowledge about our real history and what's going on. And we have to be informed by history, and local elections is where we start that history. Hitler didn't start at the top, he started in local elections.
Yeah, and
They're targeting.
just to be clear, those the politics pipeline where people start off in politics is often on school boards. They'll go from
That's
school board to city
The city
council.
council.
Yeah.
that's exactly what I was going to say next. It's when I chose to run for school board, I chose to run because I'm an educator. I've taught every single grade level, including college. I've been in ABE classes and adult basic ed, sorry, and all the different areas of the schools. And I thought, oh, I have this perspective that I can help my community. Not, oh, I'm going to do this political agenda and then run for this and then run for that and run for the other thing. I had no interest in running for anything else. Although sometimes now I think about it because we need more teachers in those offices as well. But many people that I have served with, that is their goal. And if it's not them to do it, it's them setting the stage for other people to do it. And um, Moms for Liberty has been a virus in our community, in our country, and they need to be stopped. Um, and fortunately, we have organizations, um, School Board Integrity Project, get involved with them, Parents for Good in the Anoka Hennepin and like Elk River area. Those areas have Parents for Good. Look for the helpers. Mr. Rogers is one of my role models. Look for the helpers. And
And it's not
yeah,
just Moms for Liberty. So the Heritage Foundation, which most of us know from Project 2025, actually has an online course that you can register for to teach you how to become active in local politics and walks you through the steps of actually running through local office and how to implement agendas that the Heritage Foundation has set out, even after Project 2025, they have a new document out to talk about the post Project 2025 era. So, we're not just up against Moms for Liberty, we're up against a machine on the right who are actively trying to pump right-wing individuals into seats in local politics with the hopes that they will rise up through the ranks and end up like Tom Emmer as
And
majority whip.
in Minnesota, we have Minnesota Parents Alliance, which is a huge organization related to the Heritage Foundation and Moms for Liberty and aligned with them. And they are pushing it, and they've gotten too many school board members on school boards. Our kids deserve better.
I think one of the hopeful things that I can foresee coming out of all of this is that the GOP and the likes of the Heritage Foundation and Moms for Liberty and the Parents Alliance, they might be up against a wall after this because Minnesotans are not having it anymore. And I think one of the signs of hope I have seen, not just in Minnesota, but across the country, is people that did exactly what you did, Jackie. You said that you didn't have aspirations beyond the school board. You just wanted to help. And I think we're seeing that around the country, that people that had no political aspirations before are seeing as what is happening in our country, and they are stepping up to run for office that they never would have imagined they would have done before. So we need more people like that. We need more teachers. We need more helpers. We need those people that are in it, not for themselves, but for the collective good.
I sometimes think if nurses and teachers ran the world, it'd be a much better place.
Agreed.
100%.
Oh, Jackie, thank you so much for being here. Do you have any final thoughts?
I just want to, again, thank you, too, for what you do, and thank everyone in Minnesota for pulling it together. And remember that do what you can do. Not all of us are built for standing in the streets. Not all of us are built for patrolling. Not all of us can. I have a very distinguishable vehicle. I can't use my vehicle to do any of that kind of stuff, but I ride along with some people sometimes. But like the person that said, you know what, I don't know what I can do, but I'm a really good handyman. Can I go help fix things in these families that are affected? Just think about what your gifts are and how you can help, and take care of yourself in the meantime, because this is not a sprint. They're not pulling out tomorrow, despite what everybody says. This is a marathon, and the hotels are booked till June with ICE agents, and it's there's one right by my school, and that's booked until June. So stay strong, everyone. I'm going to keep plugging along, and if we all do that, we will see a better place. Love will win.
Jackie, thank you so much for sharing your perspective as an educator and a member of the community. And it's meant a lot for us to have you come here, because we know that it takes a lot of courage to speak up in this situation. But what we've learned is that courage is contagious. And if people continue standing up and speaking up, then we're the ones who are going to be able to affect change.
Definitely follow the lead of Columbia Heights Public Schools. That's what I want to say. And look for the GoFundMes, because there's plenty of them out there.
Mm-hmm. Thanks to our listeners for coming along on the ride with us. It's been a really wild ride in Minnesota, and thank you again, Jackie, for sharing your experience. And to our listeners, if you're finding meaning in stories that we're sharing, something moves you, challenges you, makes you see the world a little differently, please like, comment, and share. It helps more than you know. Puts our work in front of more eyes and goes miles in helping us grow this amazing community.
And follow us everywhere at The Politics Chicks on Substack, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Thanks for being a part of our community. Keep shining your light so we can find each other in the dark.
And remember, we're stronger together. Thanks, folks.
Thanks all.
Bye.